Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Inside Icon with today me, David, and my favorite co-host, Fez. Fez, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You?
Very well. Happy to be back on after, I guess, a 6 week break of us being too busy, working hard to be online recording. But happy to talk about a lot of stuff that's been going on in the Icon ecosystem, or should I say the powered by ICX ecosystem. Um,
Yes. All the
I guess we
handles.
can.
I've noticed a lot of stuff has been changing. I notice everyone's using this tagline powered by ICX. Give us the
They
rundown,
are.
David.
Um, Look, it makes sense. Icon is powered by ICX, but so are products that don't necessarily rely on Icon, the layer one network anymore. Balance is cross chain across 9 chains, issuing stable coins. We have network owned liquidity, which is facilitating trades. We have Hana Wallet, which is making connections and enabling app access and ledger integrations across all sorts of different chains. And all these products, at the end of the day, are helping to bring value to the ICX holder. All these
Mm.
products are powered by ICX and in one way or the other help to burn ICX as they grow. So that's why powered by ICX makes sense as a nomer for these growing ecosystem of products. We'll be talking a bit about economic enshrinement. Um, for those who have been around for a while, they know that we kicked off economic enshrinement in January. And for those that have been around more recently, especially in Discord, they would have seen Min's
Mm.
big, big post about how economic enshrinement is actually a very interesting concept that could be replicated across several avenues, I guess.
Mm.
So yeah, that's powered by ICX, and but I just wanted to ask you real quick, Fez, have you been looking at the markets lately?
Oh, have I?
Have you?
You know it. My lines are drawn. Checking it out, and then I hear what bonk or something's gone crazy. I just like, and I'll probably
Does
get panned, but they're referencing this cycle as a meme coin mania, and it's how much I love meme coins, David.
you're all about it? Your lines make sense now, like your trend lines and your golden
Oh,
crosses.
oh yeah, oh you name it. Like everything's just worked out perfectly. If only I could trade like that, actually pull off executing. The lines look glorious, though. I can show
No
you
one
some if
does.
you're interested.
I think we should save that for after the show. Maybe just send me an email.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, anyone who isn't aware, markets have obviously pumped after the U.S. elections, and we've seen Bitcoin pump up big time. Uh, ETH lagging, you could say. People questioning its purpose, others confirming that it is the rightfully the number two out there. And altcoins like ICX are kind of going to follow through. I think ICX has outperformed the market in the past couple of days, actually. But it's always a bit
9%
of a
today.
it's a strange one where you kind of it kind of happens all of a sudden. You think it's not going to happen, and then it does. Markets, they kind of take their, or different, I guess, projects take their time to catch up with the market as it rises. So happy days, and that definitely helps, I guess, the value proposition of apps powered by ICX. If you look at the way that we're working around network owned liquidity and
Ah,
um,
but
yeah,
that's just the thing, David. Like anything pumps, it's good. Like what was it? Last 3 weeks, Sui's been pumping. Well, guess what? The Icon Network was buying Sui at like 40 cents, 50
yeah,
cents, and now
yeah,
it's $3 thing. Like, Solana's pumping. We've just started, but we have over 100K. Like what we've gone in the last 3 weeks from 3 million to 4.1 million. Um,
yes,
that's just yes, ICX hasn't pumped in all that time, and this is not what this podcast is about. Not financial advice. We work there, so but the NOL, any of the NOL assets pump, the value that it gives the Icon network increases, right? And that's the beauty of it.
yeah, yeah. So there's a big bag of a network owned liquidity currently used to facilitate frequent and deep trades unbalanced. This bag is growing with the market because it's actually nice representative of the market. It holds all the big coins. You can see it on burn.icon.community.
I'm just gonna give it a bit of a share. I've got it here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's working capital. So that money is being put to work, and it is generating trading fees, and it's generating liquidity pool fees, if I can put it that way. So every time people trade across these pools, every time people want to make cross-chain trades from, I guess, Avalanche to Sui, or from Ethereum to Injective, or some other exotic route that you can find on this board, it generates trading fees, which burn ICX, and a bit of the fees stay in the pool, which is owned by ICX predominantly, making the pool grow. And then, yeah, we had a
Oh, that's
uh,
nice.
big burn yesterday. The burns kind of, even though the ICX gets pushed towards the burn every day of the week, because it's dependent on the unstaking of
Yeah.
ICX. That's an additional factor where sometimes you'll see like a period of days where nothing seems to get burned, but that's just because there's this big amount waiting to get unstaked by the network, and then once it does, it all goes in one go, bang. So that's why you would not see a straight line up, but
This is where I would draw my line, David, just right across there. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. It's just holding the trend beautifully. There you go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, okay.
So that,
So that's NOL. That's what it looks like. And as you said, like how it's benefiting. And that's what we're going to deep dive into a little bit, right? Because
yeah,
we've had a bit of a transition where most of the team now is in Discord. So if you aren't in Discord, or you've stepped away from Discord, if you come back, you'll actually be able to ask Min, myself. Everyone wants to. Who are we kidding, David? Everyone wants to ask Min the questions. So, and the fact is, he's on there and he's answering anything and everything being asked. Even starting to talk trading, what he's interested in, and asking what everyone's views are. So definitely something you want to do, get in Discord. One of the questions that was asked was, hey, NOL, yeah, great, but we've got these emissions and it's impacting price. Why don't you think this is happening, Min? Like, what are your thoughts? We can clearly see impacts. So when this question was asked, I guess Min said, yeah, hey, I hear you. Give me a little bit of time. I'll respond to this. And obviously, put a bit of thought into it. And a week later, put a big response. It's there for everyone to read. But I think, David, we're just going to run through some of the key highlights here. What do
yeah,
you mention?
yeah, yeah.
What shall we? What
What?
shall we?
I thought, I thought you were gonna
You
roll
want me to
into
lead?
it.
Okay, okay. So
Um, yeah,
yeah, so look, we all know, like, the quick what David said was the enshrinement, 50% off the revenue that balance generates goes to burning ICX. And then we have part of the enshrinement, you got the L1 fees, the transaction costs, but that's not really much revenue there. You got XCall fees, which is a lot higher than transaction costs, but it compared to the 50% in fees that balance earns, it's not even comparable. But it is another layer. And obviously balanced revenues, that is part of the enshrinement, and which gives us NOL. So just making sure everyone understands what NOL is. ICX, it's a basket of assets that's owned by ICX holders, and the network controls it. So not the foundation. I still see people saying, "Oh, but the foundation." No, the foundation has no control over these assets. It's all owned by the network. This is why you have network votes every time we have to make changes or for new pools. I know one thing probably to call out is, I know what assets we buy hasn't come on. It's just kind of been a network vote. We're doing this. Moving forward, any future assets will actually be conversations that get kicked off, and everyone can have a say before it gets put to the network to vote. But I've just wandered off into a side spiel. What else, David? I've been covering a few things. What do you got to
Yeah,
add?
yeah. Well, another big one is that if you've made it this far in, that you don't forget to just quickly like the episode and subscribe to the channel, because we always forget to ask. And now I thought, let's do it at the beginning.
Smart.
A big one is that people I've had this feeling that with the enshrinement and the way that things are panning out, the way that the markets were looking up until, I would say, a couple of weeks ago, was that the balanced platform and balanced token holders were the only ones really benefiting from this setup, whereas the ICX holders were actually paying for this setup. That was a sentiment that was hovering around, and people were kind of strengthened in their conviction by token charts trending downwards, as up to like a couple of weeks ago, and asking questions about that, rightfully so. Min addressed that in his piece on Discord, and you can ask the questions about it. A couple of things there that I thought were interesting. Um, Before the enshrinement, outside counsel was received on whether this would negatively impact the ICX price. I'm talking about the acquisition of network owned liquidity using ICX emissions. And the reality is that if you look at ICX as a token that is liquid worldwide, it's on so much exchanges and it has so much trading volume across all these different platforms that the amount of ICX that is being spent to purchase network owned liquidity is like negligible, according to, I say, outside counsel, at least to a certain extent, where you say we can do this, like this is a good trade-off based off of ICX
I think
liquidity.
I think that David, just like third party confirmed that have a minimal impact. The daily allocation, and this is not hidden, for
Hmm.
that's allocated to NOL is around 84,000 ICX,
Hmm.
which is just point 0.2% of ICX daily trading volume.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
so in the grand scheme of everything, it is not a lot, but for ICX community members, it's all they see, right?
Mm,
So um, we're proudly communicating that this pile of NOL is growing and this working capital is unique and it's going to be very valuable. It's such a sustainable
mm,
play, which is something that can become something like a characteristic of powered by ICX applications. It's kind of like this sustainable model underneath, because don't forget, ICX is a Dino coin. It is old. It's gone through all the steps of a layer one.
mm,
It's still alive. Most aren't. And
mm.
it has taken its learnings and it is now, pursuing a sustainable course for the project. So there's no more, um, I guess, massive ecosystem funding of
Mm,
community projects. Instead, that is going towards network owned liquidity and
mm.
working capital and sustainable, I guess, practices that we really see working already um, on a
Yeah.
small scale in our NOL dashboard and burn page. So just to bring it back to Min answering the questions, one of the questions was like, is the buying the NOL pushing down like the ICX price? The answer is no, but the chart would suggest otherwise. But if you would have zoomed out a little bit, you can see that the entire markets were
Mm,
coming down all that time. And if you look now, everything's going up again. So that entire argument doesn't hold. You cannot look at like the chart and to back up that argument like that one on one,
mm.
because otherwise you would now, like, it wouldn't hold, right? Like it's going up now and we're still purchasing NOL. Working capital is growing, burn is increasing.
Yeah.
So that part has been addressed, and of course everyone's entitled to their opinion and you can still suspect a correlation, and I guess time will tell in the end. So that was a big thing that was kind of addressed. And um, yeah, I guess that's
Mm.
that was a big one for me.
Yeah, it was. And I think, like, for me, I always come back, you got two massive expenses for the Icon blockchain. One is security. At the moment, we spend probably around 86,000 ICX, give or take. Not Let's not get exact specifics. 86,000 ICX a day on security. That is staking, validators, for people who stake and to pay the batch it security. We're paying security costs for keeping the network running, around 86,000 ICX a day. And then we also spend something a little lower, 84,000, on work on assets. Now, the difference here is one is like this expense to just stay running, and the other is a expense for actual working capital. This is not like every day whatever gets spent there is swapped for its equal value of another asset that is then generating revenue. And that's where you can see, like, on these high volatility days, I mean, make no mistake, we hit a million regularly. I'm celebrating the win. I'm not happy with it because personally, we all want that volume to be 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 million a day. Like that's the
Yeah.
goal. So, but at the same time, like, we've gone from 200 on these high volatility days, clearing a million. So going to celebrate the win. But that is thanks to the assets we have, to the working capital we have. And this is super important to remember. And this is kind of what Min really breaks down in his
Hmm.
explanation, which we may be butchering, but so definitely you should be going to give that a read. But this is kind of the topics he covers in his.
Are you saying we 5x'd volume on volatile days?
Yeah, I think. I mean, in the heyday, we used to get these, when the layer one had a booming ecosystem. But
Hmm.
obviously, through changes and stuff, getting a million in a day consistently over 3 or 4 days hasn't happened in a while.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
only time it's happened is when we've had those major, 20% claw downs.
Yeah.
So here, yeah, it was on an up market, and you can see, like, all the assets in the performance page. You can see all the LPs performing and generating revenue, apart
Yeah.
from BNB, which seems to have solidified its status as a stable coin. So
Yeah.
everything else
Yeah.
has been going back and forth. Mm.
Yeah. Another kind of misconception that Min addressed was that the balanced token would be the only one benefiting from this setup. And while it's true that the balanced platform as a whole benefits because, half of the trading fees still go to the balanced DAO, and because of the network owned liquidity, Balance can offer up all these trading routes and enable or facilitate all these growing amounts of trades and sizable trades for that matter. Um, and the balanced chart, because of that, I guess, narrative or idea, as well, was going up, 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 while the icon one was trending downwards. And I guess that strengthened the belief that balanced was the only one benefiting from the enshrinement.
Mm.
Um, but what Min highlighted is that the difference between these two tokens is immense. The ICX is a massively liquid token available on exchanges all around the world, massive trading volume on the daily compared to Balanced, which to this day is a tiny token on one blockchain that is highly susceptible to volatility because of that. If enough people decide to sell on one day, the price could halve. So in terms of
Not
um,
enough for you. You go to do a small sale on it. That's. I think you're being too nice here, David. Like,
yeah,
the comparison is there's just no liquidity for it. Oh, now the
Yeah.
argument could be made, oh, but you could go and put liquidity. No, no, it costs a lot of money to get a token on various exchanges, not in listing fees, and ensuring there's ample liquidity to kind of support any selling or buying. So, right now, yes, balance is mooning, and you got a BALN bag, great. Go to sell that BALN bag. There's only one place to sell it, which I actually think should be the only place. Like, that's our winning formula. Balanced cross chain. We get it on 10 different chains, available on one place to trade. It just doesn't have enough liquidity. You go to trade $200, bam, you see a massive slippage in price. Like, this
Yeah.
is not the
Yeah.
case with ICX, not just on balance, but literally any
Yeah.
exchange. And that's kind of that people seem to be forgetting that.
And it was only a matter of time. Obviously, it's like crawling up, 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 up. It's only a matter of time before someone decides, I like this
Mm,
price and I'm going to take some profits, which happened. You can look at the chart and instantly, bang, slap down 25% or something like that. And I think that that's exactly the point that, we're trying to make, or it just illustrates that's the difference between a liquid token and a non-liquid token. And um, yeah, I kind of like it. It disproves the argument that only balance is benefiting from the enshrinement,
yeah,
because even though balance the platform it is, BALN the token is still a highly risky asset to dabble into. So you should kind of make a wise decision whether you want to say, "Hey, I'm going to part ICX, go balanced," because it's just a whole other world of
yeah.
risks. And I think,
Primarily being not as liquid. Like,
yeah,
let's just, it isn't, and that's just facts.
yeah,
And it's funny, David. Like, I got quite passionate about it, but everyone should know. Like, 6 months ago or 4 months ago, I actually asked Min for a phone call, and I asked him this direct question, and because I was off the same view, I'm like, well, this is just not helping ICX icon in any way. Like, and that's the perspective he also shared with me, and he said, let's look at it in a different, and he gave me this, how liquid it is, what happens if someone goes to sell. Right now everything's happening in one direction, so it can be perceived this way.
hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I just kept thinking, look at Balin mooning. Yeah, why would I hold ICX if
Honestly,
balance is mooning?
look, I was thinking the same.
Yeah.
I'm looking at charts. I'm seeing the enshrinement play out, and of course you're gonna assume.
Mm,
So I was the same. I was just thinking the same. Like I knew the logic, but I was seeing something else.
mm,
But it was only a matter of time before you know it would be, I guess, disproven, or ICX would start going up again and balance would take a tumble again. It's only a matter of time because the logic is straight and
yeah,
it makes sense. But I guess we could probably talk about the min post for an hour or
yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah.
I think it's good to tell our community that a lot of the communication, if not most of the real important communication, has relocated to Discord. It was always in Discord, but you'll find a lot of team members are there these days, answering questions, just, I guess, being amongst the community and better informing each other of what's going on and why we're doing things. If you go to Discord in the general channel, I'm not sure, is the post pinned,
It's
Fez?
pinned. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pinned. Just
So
click on
if
the
you're
pin.
in the main general channel, click on the pin top right and you'll find the big min post that we've kind of glossed over. I think we've covered about 15% of everything that
Yeah,
was said, but I'd like us to move on.
yeah,
Uh, so if you want to go ahead and read that, it's a good read and it might like just give you the information that you were after. Otherwise, do keep listening because we're going to move on to a chains update, a blockchains update, and I guess Fez has the juice here.
yeah. Okay, I'll give a quick technical update. So we got two chains in the pipeline for front end perspectives, Solana and Stellar. Believe it or not, they've been done for ages.
Yeah,
Um,
feels like they've
so
been done for ages.
they have, and in final testing, like Solana, for example, we're just having little things come up. I think in the dev update, I explained one of them. Solana has a weird, something different in the way a token gets created for its chain in a user's wallet. So not a new token, an existing token.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I've experienced this. I actually remember my first dabbling in Solana ages ago when I bridged some USDC via wormhole, and this was a while back. And it then asked me to pay for a fee to add the token to my wallet. It was just weird compared to everything else. And I remember that point, I thought, oh, this is a scam. Someone is hijacking my wallet right now. No, that's not the case. They actually have this system. And in recent updates in Wormhole, they actually have automated this system. So in the
Mm.
background, it does this on the user's behalf
Yep.
to simplify it. Now, some of these things you don't realize, especially like the smart contract guys won't realize it until some of the stuff happens, until we're using front ends are hooked up and using the wallets, and then you start getting some of these issues. So this has kind of been the hold up for Solana. We've had various little things like niggling things happen, although the last fix just went in yesterday, and Parrot 9 have resumed doing the final rounds of testing again for Solana. So hopefully that should be out soon, if there are no more issues there.
Mm.
But audits and stuff are done. This is just finicky stuff. Stellar is, yeah, we've had issues there as well. Just specifically, we've had to upgrade a couple of the contracts on chain post the audits. So post the audits, we've had to push some of these updates, and there's a few. The way the contracts get upgraded on Stellar is a little bit different, and we've had problems there. So this is what's taking a little bit of time. However, most of that is now being rectified and sorted, and we should be able to resume again final rounds of testing for Stellar. But with Stellar, to be completely transparent here, one of the other pieces is we're coordinating with the Stellar team on a bit of a you know, what launch plan, marketing initiative, and stuff like that. Because balanced is a big deal for their chain as well. Yes, they have an AMM that they don't have a CDP, and it actually connects them to quite a lot of chains they don't have access to. So
Yeah.
it's a crucial product on their side as well, and we have a great partnership with them
We do.
on that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got grants and Hana as well. So that's what's happening there. Stacks, yes, Stacks is tracking again finicky issues. We're in the last tail end of the testnet testing. It's the end-to-end suites being run through there, finding a lot of little things, and Cyrus has been hard at work fixing and trying to get ready for mainnet release. So that's just the contract. So we haven't started the front end work there. We've got Optimism front end work almost ready as well. Again, for that, there needs to be an update to BNUSD, which will be voted on. This is another thing, David. You can push all these updates, but one little thing needs to be re-upgraded or something like that. It will require another vote via the DAO, and that's what's I think this week. Some of those
Is,
fixes.
is that like an update inherent to minting BNUSD on Optimism or on the OP stack in general?
No, on Optimism. Every chain will always be its own governance vote.
Mm.
There's some update needed to the BNUSD contract, which means
Mhm.
another vote is needed. So the front end for Optimism is almost ready as well, but we need to get the upgrades going. Then again, final rounds of testing will happen on that front.
Yeah.
And then, so that's all the chains. At this point, there's a few others I've mentioned. Polygon, we've deployed on, so we'll work through and get those front ends ready. We're not pushing aggressively at the moment to launch on more chains, like EVM chains and stuff. We could do that quite quickly.
Mhm.
The reason why that's a little bit paused is we're doing the relay cluster relay work that I've mentioned a few times. This is for our relay, the version 2, where we're creating it more in line with Wormhole's setup. And for us, it's kind of like, hey, do we keep pushing and then have more of these just to upgrade? Or like the cluster relay is actually today getting deployed to mainnet as a separate relay set up to test on mainnet. That's how far
Mm.
along for three of the chain stacks. Cosmos, EVM, and Icon. It's today's going. So we're that far along. It's just kind of like, hey, yep, let's get these out. Let's upgrade the existing infrastructure and then start going a
Yeah.
little harder on some of the existing stacks. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
just have more stuff to upgrade. So um, I haven't been able to give that much context in the dev update. So just making sure everyone knows that. Uh, and then finally, because I'm just keeping an eye on time, David, we said 40 minutes and we're
You're
up to
good.
30. Intents. So things are still on track. As I keep telling everyone, in case y'all didn't know, we're looking to go live with a single pair of ETH SUI uh, on balanced first week of December. At the moment, we've got the solver, we've got the intense contracts, everything's on mainnet. We've even finished the balanced intense SDK. I've got the front end guys actually looking at the SDK to implement that into the front end, because it should be that easy. They should be able to use this SDK, hook it in. First week of December is still the goal. Unless again something like yesterday, there was a few issues with the solver in terms of certain edge cases, but the
Yep.
guys are still very confident. We got Algo Chain. Um, great
Yeah.
having him on board, like
Yeah.
subject matter expert. It's brilliant.
Very cool.
He's fixing so that stuff is still tracking well. And yeah, so that's technical. And there was one final thing I actually did have to share. In if people, because last time we did this, David, I gave all this doom and gloom news about CPS and things like that, and having to change a few things in terms of concentrated liquidity. But this is Hana swap. It's not completely done, but it's pretty much there. As in, the site is fully functional. A funny story, it was completely done and we've revamped the UI. As soon as it was done, we've revamped the UI again and in line with how the wallet looks. So you can see Marshy. Oh, look, it's so cute. And yeah, so this is kind of what it looks like and how the chain picker will work. You can pick individual chains. So if you just pick icon, then you see the assets per normal. And yeah, you can see how it's starting to fill out. You can see it's already got Stellar and Solana hooked into it. It's got a beautiful wallet viewer here. You can see I've got some testing assets. Yeah, it's coming together. It's looking good, I think.
Yeah. So for anyone who is actually listening and not viewing, we're looking at a pre version of a deployment of Hana Swap, which is essentially hanaswap.com swapping interface built on top of Balanced. So directly powered by ICX, which enables swaps from one token on one chain to one token on another chain, just like Balance does. It's just catered to a different type of audience, I think.
Mm,
It's just it's very simplistic. It does one thing, and that is perform a swap, just like you would in Wallet when you use Hana. It's got a couple of features kind of in the pipeline. Limit orders and DCAing are features that we would like to add to this product suite. But yeah, I think it looks great. And I mean, it's hard to go wrong here in terms of what you need to do. You swap from one token to the other.
yeah.
Kind of remind, yeah, cross chain. I'd be happy to get this live and to be able to, I guess, refer people to hanaswap.com when I feel like that's the place for them to make their swap.
Yeah, it's just a simpler, like a very simpler and common theme. Uniswap, it's basically Uniswap, JupiterSwap. They all have that same exact feel. You land, you pick the asset, you pick the other asset, you swap, you go good, off you go, done. So yeah. Anyway, it's almost ready and it should be live soon. But I think that's my technical update, David. Is there
Yeah.
anything I've missed?
No, that kind of covered chains. You covered Intense. Real quick, I'm quite excited about Intense because I just feel like it opens up to volume. I feel like it could, you know, if we get it to work the way we want it to work, it will start pumping more volume through our network owned liquidity. And
Mm.
that's what we're trying to achieve. And I have the same confidence coming from you that we can get this to work as I had with the enshrinement before. So,
Yeah.
we enshrined Balanced, we started purchasing network owned liquidity. And today, if you have a look at the situation, you can see it's working.
Yeah.
So now it's
Uh,
time to move to the next step, get
Agreed.
that
And
volume
there
in.
was one thing. Oh, I cut you off.
I know I said the next step is getting that volume in, because one comment that people
Mm,
make, like we celebrate the burn, uh, we celebrate in public,
mm,
and people are literally in line to come in and go like, "That's so little. That's nothing compared to your
mm,
inflation of the past 6 or 7 years," you know, and then just throwing around these astronomical numbers, and that's fine. Like, that's, if you're annoyed, pissed off, skeptical, be that. It's
mm,
okay. Um, it's not about the number. It's about where the number is going. It's about proving that the mechanism is working. It's about having built something that is verifiably sustainable and growing. That's what we're celebrating. I'm not
yeah.
celebrating that we've burned 1% of daily inflation. I'm celebrating that we have proven that this concept works and that we're able to grow it. So that's why I'm happy when we see bigger and bigger and bigger days.
Mm,
Um, Line goes up, not linearly. It's kind of exponential, but not factor two. It's like slowly increasing.
mm,
And I have silent but loud hope that we've made a right decision with intent based trading angle
yeah.
to get an increased amount of volume to the SUI ETH trading pair
Yeah.
as another proof of concept, which we will celebrate if it seems to work, and
Mm.
then roll out to the other trading pairs.
Yep, agree. And this is something a very active community member asked. There was concerns. Or are we just constantly jumping to the next big thing and just building randomly? What thought process is there around it? So just to address a bit of this is the goal is balance, right? We're building balance. We're trying to enhance its features. Balance has two core features, CDP and an AMM. For a long time, I've given updates around the concentrated liquidity. It was deemed it's more capital efficient if balance had concentrated liquidity. Uh, However, as intents have started to take over, the reason why we were able to pivot was one of the things we need for intents is solver, and solver needs liquidity. And from analyzing it, it was like, well, we have the liquidity, we just don't have the intents and the solver, which was actually a far simpler build, way simpler than concentrated liquidity, along with the just technical overload that is concentrated liquidity redone in Java. And this is kind of the reason we're not just building, we're actually analyzed it and deemed, hey, is it going to be easier or more capital efficient to attract user liquidity or make our liquidity that we all own, the network owns, more efficient? What is a better play for us at the moment? And after Scott, I was on a call with Scott, and he did a whole heap of math because we were looking at what Avalanche were spending on, their bonus current plans that they got going on for DeFi, how
Mm,
much they're actually spending to attract liquidity.
mhm,
And I was again, when the math gets taken, I'm like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize how much money gets put in just to attract that kind of liquidity for one LP.
mhm,
Uh, we realized, hang on, well, our killer feature is the assets we hold, NOL, right? So if we can make this 600 million, 600,000 of one asset work for us, where we can enable like 100, 200, $300,000 trades with zero slippage, next to zero slippage, well, isn't that a better trade-off than building the concentrated liquidity and spending a ton of money to try and attract liquidity to make that liquidity more efficient so that we can entertain $600,000 trades? Like, these are, they're not off a whim. We actually look at that and realize, hell, no, this is actually a better path for us, and we already have one up because we hold all these unique layer one assets compared to the majority of the solver game. And this is what you're seeing across, for example, their standard is being adopted by Ethereum. You could say enshrined by Ethereum for their intents, but that is strictly to do with EVM. So across deals with EVM, moving assets via intents, and they have a solver and they're standardizing the token standard, etc. But it's everything to do with EVM. And we're not trying to compete or trying to reinvent the standard for EVMs. We're just going to take, hey, yep, you got your EVMs, but guess what, guys? There's a ton of layer ones out there. In fact, if you look at the roll up, Andy and stuff like that, what they're doing, they talk about like by the end of 2025, they expect another 1,000 roll ups, layer ones to be not roll ups, layer ones to exist with different kinds of infrastructure. So where people need to be catering to that audience. So I hope that rant has helped explain a little bit of why we've chosen what we've chosen and why we're building intents as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's exciting and promising if we get it to work, Fez. So that's why I'll celebrate when we do. And you said,
It's to be clear, it does work. It's already working. The
yeah,
winning formula is going to be because this is two things will happen, and I want to make sure everyone's clear. Fees will drop. Okay, this means balanced overall revenue will drop initially because when people swap between these assets, we plan to be competitive, and competitive means being cheaper than everything else,
hmm
which means lower fees. And at the moment, balance takes 0.3% per trade. It'll be much cheaper than that.
hmm
But with volume, that will catch up, right? So, how will it work? Is well, if it's cheaper, we should attract more volume, and we can entertain bigger trades. And then two, the SDK, we can go and market it to Jumper, a few others players in the pipeline to kind of go, hey, it's actually not complicated anymore to integrate balance because that's one of our challenges. Icon, anything to do with icon is always a complication because it's a separate stack. This is just a frustrating hurdle that we have to constantly keep dealing with. But when it comes to intents, we can bypass a little bit of this due to the way we built the SDK and the way the solver works. So this should get us in the door. And if we can just get a couple of these aggregators as partners because we offer them a unique part. And when I say if, I know we can, and that's where we'll start to see success. So at this point, the V1 is to just make sure that our first balanced consumer, everything works perfectly, and then
yeah,
we will iterate on it quickly to get it ready for partners to start hooking in.
yeah, yeah. It's cool. And you know what? This is what I think every now and then. I'm like, why? Because I love this. Um, I love all of the powered by ICX angle. I think it's great. Why wouldn't the next, VC backed project just go and raise 10 million and make that network owned liquidity? Because they might be able to do that, but then they'd also have to build balanced. Then they'd
Mm,
also have to build the bridging infrastructure across 9 different, mostly unique chains. Then they would also have to do the intents work to make sure that that is up and running. There is a lot of layers to
mm.
the value proposition that is powered by ICX, and you can't just replicate it. I read TVL is temporary, NOL is forever. Uh,
That's good.
it's not VC owned, it's network owned. It is
Yeah.
owned by the holders of ICX. It's just, there's a lot of moving parts that aren't that easy to replicate,
Mm,
especially not on the short term. So the work is valuable, and it's, starting to pay off. And what I mean is, like, we can see that it's working, and now we're trying to scale it with the intense piece.
mm,
Wild question. Let's say all intense piece work across all the routes. What's beyond that? Have you given that thought? I have a couple of ideas, but they're also just as wild. Can you imagine all our current pools are catered to through intent-based trading, and there's a couple of aggregators that like the routes for the cheap pricing, and balances showing up at the top of ODOS Jumper every now and then, that kind of stuff.
mm.
What happens then?
Well, I mean, volume goes through the roof, right?
Yeah.
Like, and fees. So, yes, again, fees. Like, for example, in the current fee model, you do 15 million worth of volume. You're earning far more than in the intense model. But at the same time, to what you just explained, right? Like the intense, first, we can't just gouge. our customers, because that's what's happening. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. Like, our customers are getting gouged, so we need to make sure that our customers are looked after, and the way we're doing it is through intent. So,
Yeah.
yes, the world you painted is very real, as we keep building this piece out. And then for me, like, intense, like, LPs are great, like foundational DeFi,
Mhm.
Uniswap V2, stuff like that. Is it, again, I keep saying capital efficient? Is it the most efficient use of our capital? Probably not, because you got, with V2, the liquidity spread across infinity range. With Intense, we don't need to have it in LP. We can actually have individual assets. Like, this is me talking future. Like,
Yep.
you asked me a futuristic question. I was like,
Yep.
well, where this could go is we could move away from an LP model and more to a unified liquidity layer. And this is something Mint touches on as well, is kind of how can we make that liquidity work for other features, other ways of driving revenue. And I've talked about this a little bit, restaking, things like that. But uh, unfortunately, anything we did in that space would be like, hey, if we have $1 million of this asset, we could take 10% and stake it. You still got the other, 90% locked in an LP because it needs to be there.
Mm.
However, with Intense, um, you could have it available and you could have a few things tap into it, not
Mhm.
double
Mm.
tap or triple tap and play it risky. It's just whatever's available can be used in a block, like, per transaction. And it opens up quite a lot of opportunities for power things that are powered by ICX,
Yeah.
should I just say. So I'm pretty excited. And some of those plans we're starting to plan right now to go,
Mm.
hey, cool, this kind of opens up the door in so many ways. Let's start uh, uh, like discovery work, and let's map out how we can do this, because we can, I don't have specific numbers, but we can increase revenue not just through swaps and minting. We can do a few other things and increase revenue, and
Yeah.
much more use of our capital. So as I explained before, 10% off the $1 million, but now we could tap into, open it up so that it's like 50%, not staking. It could be used for other things, which I'm being very aloof about intentionally because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But that's the future state. Yes.
Yeah. It's okay it's not overpromising. It's just like throwing out your wild ideas and predictions. I was thinking, like all sorts of weird routes would become available. Like I
Yep.
mentioned this in Discord at some point, but I believe with intense trading, we can enable, you know, dog with stick on Solana to be traded for rat without a hat on Stellar, for example,
Is
at
that a
a
new coin? Because are you holding out on me? Is this what's happening? Rat without a cap?
bullish.
No, but that you're spot on, David. Like, this is, in fact, the solver is actually being built like that. So
Yeah.
for Sui, Cetus is, a big exchange, and the
Yeah.
way Algo Chain has built this solver is, at the moment, it'll only go and balance its assets for Sui, but
Yeah.
with the click of a button, it can open up all the assets on Cetus
Right.
for, because we hold Sui, we can, through the solver, go and swap that into any token available on Cetus and have it available. Uh, on balance, and we don't need to hold the liquidity. And this is where I keep coming back to that capital efficient, right? Suddenly in the LP model, we'd have to worry about LPs for all these things, but in this, all we need is a primary asset, and then we can work a bit of magic and rely on,
Yeah.
the blockchains and existing protocols to enable
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Um, well, that brings us to kind of the end. I guess I could do a little update on the Hana
No,
work that we're
no.
doing with Hana Wallet.
Yes.
Um, if anyone listening has Hana Wallet on mobile, you would have noticed a lot of big updates coming through in the past, I'd say 4 weeks, a big sweep of the UI and the UX. I guess that's all known. Last week we pushed an update to the browser, so you're now able, when you're using the Hana browser to do DeFi or other decentralized application related stuff, you're now able to bookmark your favorite pages, and there's actually a favorite button where you can have your main one propped up to the right. We've redone the UI and the UX for browsing, so it's a much more um, up to standard
Mm.
experience compared to before. We're still not there. Like there's more to come. A bit of quality assurance as well. Like sometimes little mistakes might slip through, and we have to fix them as well in terms of UI and UX. We're working on a feature where you're going to be able to redeem codes in exchange for tokens. You can think along the lines of promo. Uh,
Referrals? Like,
Not
is
so
that what
much.
you're saying? No?
By extension, yes. So the concept is pretty simple. I would give you a preloaded code, which you can
Mm.
then redeem inside the Hana wallet, and
Oh.
it'll just drop a bag of tokens into your wallet. So this could be tokens across different chains, kind of showing
Oh.
the
Yeah, okay.
capabilities of Hana wallet as a multi-chain wallet. Could
Mm.
be just a project coming in and saying, "Hey, I want to use this feature to reward my followers." Could be conference attendance where you scatter around loaded QR codes for people to scan, download
Mm.
Hana Wallet, and
Mm.
get a couple of tokens dropped in. So that's a feature that, from a marketing and promo perspective, is very welcome. Um, we were thinking about a 12 Days of Christmas campaign towards the end of the year where we could, if we get this out on time, email our email subscribers um, with QR codes, and they could then get lucky and scan the QR code in their Hana app. And if it's their day, that would turn into a bag of tokens. And if it's not, it's not. And then
Mm.
every day for 12 days of Christmas, we would email out to our subscribers these codes. And if you are one of our subscribers and you get a loaded code, there's a little Christmas present for you from Hana. So that's
Oh,
that
nice.
was just that's a short term idea that we decided to actually work on and see if we can get that done. Maybe not, so don't pin this on me. But that's an aspect of Hana Wallet that we're working on right now as well,
Pin
alongside
on David. Yep. I
yeah,
got it. I'll pin it on you. All good.
thanks. Um, yeah, so I don't want to throw too much out there, even
Yep.
though I've
No, that.
already maybe done that. Let me think. You might notice that that we might enable more tokens available for trading in the Hana Wallet app over time. This is because maybe similar to the balanced intents, we're kind of working on enabling local dexes on
Mm.
chains to tap into their liquidity whenever you're in Hana Wallet. Right now, we facilitate these in wallet swaps that work pretty well. I can just swap some Avalanche for Injective. But if I then want to get like this Dojo coin on Injective or this Ninja Cat with debt, then I must go into the Hana browser, visit their local DEX, and make those swaps. So it's all possible and available. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, we want to simplify swapping for users in Hana Wallet. And ideally, we have it all run on top of Balanced because it's powered by ICX and it burns ICX. So that's another slightly longer term feature that we're looking at. And lastly, I'd like to just thank our community for showing up in our support channels and
Mm.
chats. I'm talking to multiple people every day, coming in with questions about how to unstaking icon has been a big one because we moved a button around. We moved it
Mm.
from away from an earn tab into the token. So a lot of people were wondering where did that go, and we could have communicated better. So that's lessons coming in. We get feedback
Mm.
about stuff that is or isn't working. Some people come in to say that they like a certain update, which is also great. And that feedback loop is really helping us improve this application and making it ready for, I guess, broader retail further down the line, because we
Mm.
do have simple social login onboarding. We do have use your credit card to buy your first crypto. We are working on a debit card pilot in Australia. So we are
Mm.
building an app powered by ICX for regular people who want to dabble into crypto, but they want to do it self-custodial, you know?
Mm.
That's the big thing, and I hope that at some point, I actually expect that at some point, general public will catch on and start to understand the difference and see that they want to have direct access to their assets on these blockchains as opposed to just giving it to whichever third party has the nicest ad campaign.
Mm.
And maybe one day that's us with Little Marsh.
Yep.
So yeah,
Marshy. Uh, so
that's a short, punchy Hana update. And if you want more Hana updates, do subscribe to the email newsletter. It's in the footer of the website. Just pop in your email address and opt into the marketing messages, and you'll get a monthly news roundup as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big Hana user, just mainly because all the chains we work on, it supports. So, but what one little, so I often find myself, David, in this. I use the extension, although I have since the latest update gotten the app on the phone, and I must say it's like leagues ahead of majority of mobile apps
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even the extension in general. Uh, but one thing that I feel that's always gone underrated is the change now implementation in the swap section for
yeah,
Hana, right?
yeah,
And this is my dirty secret. I use it a lot, mainly because so for Solana, or various chains when we're deploying contracts, like you need like 2 to 3 Solana to deploy a contract because that's how it works on Solana. You got to basically lock that Solana for the contract you deploy,
yeah,
and so it's getting quite expensive. But that rant aside, when I need it, well, the first thing I'll do is actually use well, it doesn't have Solana implementation, but Neutron and a few others. Like I'll go to Change Now, and that's how I'll move ICX into all these other assets instead of
yeah,
going on an exchange and doing it because I only need a little bit. So I find it solves this problem I have. Thank God I
yeah,
don't have to use central exchanges. So yeah. Anyway, that's my little
yeah.
thing
Because
about it.
Hana has this we're powered by ICX, and we drive ICX burn by enabling in-app swaps
Mm,
cross-balanced. But we also have a mandate for our users to be as usable and great as possible. So if we
mm,
need to pop in Change Now as another swap provider just to facilitate routes that we don't have ourselves yet,
mm,
then that's why it's there, so that we can actually do that. When you talk about Hana on desktop, currently Hana on desktops looks years old compared
mm.
to the mobile application, and this
Oh yeah.
is this is accurate. It won't stay like this. Once we have the mobile application hashed out in a way that we think is good,
Mm,
if not great, we will update the desktop. We'll give some love to the desktop extension. So we'll be updating the look and feel of that just to bring it in line with the mobile app. And
mm,
there's another feature that I'm quite excited about, and you've seen this with the Uniswap extension. Kepler Wallet has implemented it as well, where the extension wallet, where you can choose as a user whether you want it to pop up like it does these days, or
mm.
whether you want it to come in from the side as a
Yeah.
sidebar wallet. And that's one of my favorite features that I would like to bring to Hana, because, in my opinion, it offers a bit of peace of mind when your wallet is on the sidebar because it doesn't disappear when you click somewhere else. It doesn't
Mm,
like reset its user flow when you need to go and look for a password somewhere or look for an address.
yeah.
So yeah, those types of improvements will come to the desktop extension after the mobile work is finished. So that's the direction that we're heading as well,
Yeah.
making it an all-round better product. So that's Hana, and that does bring us to the end of this 30-minute episode, Fez. So do you have
That's
any?
right. But no closing. We got 10 seconds of dot on the hour. So I think this is it. We'll strive to be more regular. Apologies to everyone. Thanks for all the DMs. That's one of the fundamental reasons we're on here. Like David, DMs are blowing up. We need to get this content out. So really appreciate everyone hanging in there for the next episode. Hopefully it was worth it. That's all from me, David.
Yes. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next one.
Like, share, subscribe. Not financial advice. Take care, everyone.
Bye.